back from Berlin, 10 days visiting home. First time right now actually processing what happened. And I'm still wearing the entrance wristband, as you can see if you're watching the high quality video I'm putting out here. Part one, before I went to the conference, was the brief, the laying it down, right? And now let's do the debrief. What actually happened? What did I see? And what can I share? And I took some notes. That's what I'm looking at. And pardon me. I think as the theme was never gonna give you up. I think the better lyrics now actually from the song is more like we know the game and we're gonna play it. Because I think that's my main takeaway from 3 days of Republica. Now that never gonna give you up, that's also on the wristband that I still like. It's of course a little bit naive at times. And I think that we know the rules and we know the game and we're gonna play it is more really like, hey, we do understand the rules and the game that's being played by big corporations that are maybe not the biggest fans of the open internet and all those things. So I think that's maybe the better fitting part of the lyrics. Also, everybody who's there, right, is aware of what's happening, right? We know what Elon is doing. We've seen the EU try to regulate stuff and still coming short and failing a lot. We watched all those decentralized alternatives. Right? We are also all on Blue Sky or Mastodon talking about decentralized. Right? We are all there, but it's not really replacing the mainstream. And we know that. And we know that like Mastodon and things like this pop up, get some traction, and turn into ghost towns again. We know how broken this is. You know how broken this is. And yet we show up to a 3-day conference in Berlin about it. Anyway, and that's kind of like the vibe. Now, what kind of conference was Republica actually? And I think there are conferences where you go to learn, and you want to learn how to win inside the current system. I think OMR, think South to Southwest, think OMX. Great events, very slick. Lots of people in expensive sneakers. Mine are only half expensive. And they describe themselves as builders. Republica isn't that. And by the way, I'm not just sounding like a hater, because I've been at those conferences, thanks to my past, and there's a place for it. But I think Republica is a bit different. Republica is where you go when you're done pretending the current system works or the current system is fine and you want to do something about it. And or if you haven't been in the current system and you think you can ignore it and can just jump to trying something different or change the world. It's a different motivation to like those online marketing rockstar events and all those things. Different rooms too. And I kind of mean that literally too. The room, they look different. You have hackers there, you have activists there, academics, journalists, politicians at times, who all still believe in journalism, in documentary filmmaking, because you have filmmakers there as well, policy people, NGO people. The energy is not how do I grow my personal brand. The energy is how do we not lose this, where you're listening to me right now, where you're watching me. How do we keep this? That's the energy. It's also pretty big, to be honest. The conference it's huge. It's the best. It was terrible. I'm sorry. It's really big though. People usually don't believe me when I say this. That this is one of the biggest conferences I've ever seen. But it is. So there you go. And yes, there are weirdos, and I think that's a feature, not a bug. Up to a point, and I'll get to that point. They're the good kind of weird people who arrive at correct ideas, good ideas from weird directions and not straightforward. But that's great. That's cool. There's the bad kind of weird is also there at times. People who have decided from the beginning what they believe in and what they want to hear. And if they don't hear that, if it doesn't fit their bubble, then they're going to be against it. Yeah. Or people that have decided everything is corrupt, nothing's true, nothing's works, everybody's performing, I don't believe anyone. Which also conveniently means that they never have to engage with other opinions, with anything in a serious manner. Those are there too, right? So both sides are there. The conference itself is big enough, as I mentioned, to contain each side, to contain like multitudes of those. And that's the cool thing about it. And I just realized I did not welcome you. So, Sawadee and welcome to another episode for Funkit, Mindful Media and Communication, the After Republica podcast episode, where I recap a little bit about what happened at Republica. Pardon me. You see, I brought a cold from Germany. That also sounded very German. So, secondly, what I want to talk about, my talk. Apparently, people do care about Asia, which is cool, but also surprising. So they put me at a small stage at the lightning box because they misspelled lightning, which happens at a big conference. So they put me at a very small stage. Interesting, because usually, like if I speak in this area of the world, I stand on bigger stages, but it's not about the size of the stage. So I was really surprised that that small space was really, really packed. Like people sitting on the floor, standing all the way to the entrance doors, packed, which is cool. Which shows me that people, because they don't know me, so that people really care about the subject matter. Pardon me. So why is the question I ask myself? Why do people talk about it? Because, well, what did I talk about? You should know that if you listen to the podcast. But I talked about digital dissent in Southeast Asia, focusing on Thailand, but also with a few other examples. So I basically talked about how movements under real pressure, like life or death pressure, not just theoretical pressure like we do at uni or like maybe like, in Germany and so on, but under actual authoritarian pressure, use every available tool to stay connected, to stay organized, to keep moving, to keep democracy alive, if you will. That's why my talk was called Democracy in Better. And the interest in the room surprised me in the best possible way, I want to say, because it was a packed room, which is cool, but it's like mostly European. A few Asian, Southeast Asian people, which was really cool to connect with as well. But mostly it's in Germany, right? So mostly a room full of European, Western tech media people, and they seem to genuinely wanting to understand how this works in contexts that are not in Germany or the US. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna stop saying pardon me now when I cough, but pardon me. So that's pretty cool, right? People being genuinely curious to see how do things work in Southeast Asia. Of course, there was a hater. Haters gonna hate because yeah, in the Q&A, that hater grabbed one phrase from one slide in the early beginning, misread it on purpose, and then started running with it. And instead of listening to my responses or the argument I built later on, in the 25 minutes after I showed that one slide, yeah, it was just focusing on like this one misread argument. That's a very specific kind of bad faith engagement, I think. And I think it's a product of like the attention economy. You try to find something, pick something, you want to hate on that, and then I think I can make this one work, and so I'm going to hate on this right now. Yeah, extract a fragment, decontextualize it, perform outrage at the fragment, and then you import Twitter X into the room, basically. The rest of the audience, luckily enough, watched it happen for about 30, 45 seconds, rolled their eyes, and then moved on to actually asking real questions. Great response. Thank you for that. Had great questions afterwards as well. The hater also lined up to talk, try to make their point. mean, at least it's not just disrupting, so I appreciate that. But I still stand by that person was focusing on one small thing that I mentioned, which wasn't even wrong. I just didn't focus fully on it and didn't listen to my arguments, just wanted to hate. And I think, I mean, you have people like this at every conference, at every event, but if your energy is to hate, like, I mean, why bother? But the rest was fantastic, great connections. Looking forward to building on that. Let's stop with my talk though, because I mean there were also other speakers on the big stages, such as Cory Doctorow, and I think he pointed out something very well, but also he, just looking at his talk, highlighted something very well. Okay, so he did the typical Doctorow things, and I don't mean that in a negative way. And if you don't know, he coined the term enshittification. I use that a lot. It's the process by which platforms attract users, then abuse users once they capture them. It's a real thing. You see that happening everywhere. And the word has earned its place in my classes, in my research even. And it's mostly US directed anger, which again also very fair, totally warranted. Yeah. Even the US directed anger during the whole conference was fairly warranted, I think. Because the US is currently doing things that warrant anger. So his talk warranted. The conference themes warranted. But, and while I'm with it, right, while I'm also hating on the US in this regard, and I'm angry at them, there's something that made me tense up when listening to his talk and to other talks. And because how do I phrase it? At a certain point, the diagnosis, becomes the product. So everybody at Republica already knows that the platforms are broken. So preaching this particular choir about enshittification is like going to a cancer conference and spending the main portion of your talk explaining what cancer is. Does that make sense? It's accurate, we agree with it, but I don't think that's what we need the most. The part that I wanted more of is, what do you actually do? What can we actually do? What's the treatment, not just the disease? What does a non-enshittified platform look like? And why have we not built it? At scale, that is. And whose fault is that specifically? And yes, the US, but can we do something? What can we do? We have so many people that are on the same page, in the same room, literally in this case. Let's do something. And there are sessions on this though, and I'm not saying it wasn't there. I'm saying the ratio felt a little bit off. The energy for the diagnosis was much higher, I want to say, than the energy to stick with the words for the prescription. And if you want to change something rather than just describe it well, that ratio does matter, in my opinion. So that leads me to, and let me see my bullet points that I took from the conference, because I actually, maybe it's my age now, but I actually start taking bullet points when I'm at events. I'm like, this is cool, let me remember this. So my observations is my last part of my notes that I took. And then I will let my voice rest again. There's a tension, but as I mentioned, inside Republica, I think. And inside not just the event, but the broader digital rights, open internet movement. And I haven't seen it named directly yet. Because I think a significant part of the programming and even of the cultural energy at the event is organized around gender identity, representation, progressive social politics. And that's not wrong. And if you follow my podcast, you know that I teach a class and do research in an area that's called like media and social diversity. So I'm all for it. Because those things are real issues and they belong in the conversation. So that's totally fine and that's how it should be. But the problem that maybe problem is the wrong word, but I'm sick, so forgive me. But the problem I see is that Republica wants to protect the open internet. The open internet's users are not all people who would feel immediately at home at Republica. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So the people who most need to care about net neutrality, platform governance, that's my cat in the background. What's up, Snooze? Okay, sure, come on. Cat bombed my podcast, that's totally fine. Cat content right here, subscribe. Don't break the mic. I was just telling the people that the vibes at Republica were a little bit off. Can you believe it? So, while you just watch my cat jumping off my shoulder, probably. Thank you. It's a cat podcast now. More cat content would fix the internet. That's what I think. Because I'm almost done, okay? Then I play with you again. I know I've been away for way too long. To my Thai. Yes, we talk English, German, and Thai together, right? So where was I? So the people who really need to care about net neutrality, platform governance, algorithmic accountability, all those things. By the way, research paper coming up soon. So the people who are not already in the room, those are the people who have to care. And they encounter a cultural, I want to say, register that reads, while I keep Snooze away from here, that reads to them as a specific political tribe. And then they leave or they don't even come. And that's the problem. If you see that an event is just for a certain group of people and you feel excluded right away before even being there, and then you don't even show up, like, why would you bother, right? And I think that's a problem, because if we want to keep this thing alive, we all need to work together. We need to find ways to work together to, direct our anger better towards those people that we should be angry at. And I think that's something that feels a bit off. And you could argue that it's the problem of those people that don't show up to the event. Sure. And you can argue that those inclusive politics are correct. So the framing is their problem to adjust to. Totally fine. But if your actual goal is to build a broad enough coalition, let's call it like this, to change platform regulation, and you've built a conference that filters out most of the people who might join that coalition, I think that's a strategic failure, not a moral triumph. That's things I think about when I'm in a plane for 10 hours or on a train for 6 hours. Also, I think it's worth asking whether the people inside the room are being served by this or whether it's just, comfortable environment to be in. Because comfortable politics inside a conference hall, an event hall, don't change anything outside of it. And again, most of us at least, agreed on what was said on stage. We all like, yeah, right, you go. Yes, everyone's clapping, sure. But that's because we already are all on the same page. So I think not wrong, but we gotta find a way to be better at that. I always bring it up that one of my favorite talks, and not in terms of the topic itself, but one of my favorite talks in terms of like watching and listening was, oh God, when was that? I know it was 3-4 years ago. And last time I was a Republican before this year. And I think they had, oh no, I'm blanking, the former finance minister of Germany there. I'm sick, don't blame me. And no one likes the guy, but he was on stage answering questions. And you're like, okay, we don't like you. You're not with us. You're not one of us. But here we are discussing stuff. And that's how you exchange opinions and ideas. That's what I was missing a little bit, if I have to be honest. But hey, before before my cat jumps me again and before I lose my voice completely, we keep it a bit shorter this week. The next episode will be a thematic episode again, and we're diving deeper into media and communication strategies and theories then. Whew. So let me close with this, okay? And I borrowed this again from Cory Doctorow as well. So I'm worried, sad, and terrified. Yes, like just like Cory, all accurate. Because the situation we're in right now definitely calls for it. Just look outside the window, look into what's happening in the world. But just like Cory, I'm also hopeful. And I mean that less as a feel-good closer at the end, like, hey, don't forget, feel hopeful, and more like a factual observation. I watched a lot of people who know how bad the game is, right? And they still choose to play it. Just like you probably still chose to play it. With what I appreciate, competence. Yeah, they know how to play it and they know their position in the game and what they can do well. Yeah, lots of people have actual ideas, which is also cool. Lots of people, the signal is coming. Lots of people have also enough energy left. Like they sit on the floor and ask questions. Yeah, listening to someone talking about Southeast Asia and dissent in Southeast Asia. Amazing. So that shows me that people want to learn, want to change. People care. That's not nothing. That's a very German compliment. That's actually something, okay? So we know the game and we're gonna play it. Not despite knowing how the game works, but because of knowing how the game works. I still wear the wristband. I will keep it on for a little bit longer because we will not give up. Until next time, healthy again, hopefully, better voice, less coughing, and an actual theme. Until then, stay safe, take care. Saudi Cup. Back to bed.